So I'm back, and today I've got it's another Marvel special, I guess you could call it. I'm also going to be taking a look at those comics back there, but first, this is the Marvel Legends Taskmaster. It says Black Widow on it. I presume it's a tie into the upcoming Black Widow movie. I'm not sure if this is exactly what the character is going to look like in that movie, based on what pictures I found. I'm actually going to bring up an image of his first appearance for comparison's sake. Yeah, so Taskmaster first appeared in not Avengers 196, but Avengers 190 in 1980. So this guy is turning 40 this year. You can definitely notice the difference. They seem to have replaced the cape with... If it'll focus, sorry. Yeah. They've replaced the cape with a less prominent... looks more like it's just a hood, no cape. But they did keep the orange aesthetic, but it's definitely a lot toned down to the original comic booky appearance that the character had when he first appeared. And the mask is less noted. It's still got that skull aesthetic, but it looks more like those ski masks you can buy online than the more Halloweeny mask that we just saw. Okay, so this guy his real name is Tony Masters, and like I just said, his first appearance was in the Avengers in 1980. He was mostly an Avengers villain for the most part, but he's also tangled with Spider-Man, I think the X-Men maybe a few times, and yeah, a majority of the Marvel Universe, Captain America, yeah, he's served. I'm starting the opening process while I talk about him. So, as far as superpowers go, it's been debated whether Taskmaster actually has superpowers or whether he's like Batman or the Punisher, and he doesn't actually have superpowers. He's just really good with the weapons he has and knows every form of hand-to-hand combat. It is said that he has something of a superpower in that he can mimic every move that his opponents make, as it says on the box over here. Taskmaster is armed with the ability to mimic an enemy's every move. I'm guessing that means if someone comes at him with a roundhouse kick, he has like a precognitive ability to tell that you're making one based on body language before they make it. And he can counter it with another roundhouse that's probably even stronger. Kind of like precognition, in a way. Or spider sense. But it's been debated among writers over the years whether it's an actual superpower or if he's just that skilled. It doesn't say if he has any other superpowers beyond that. And so, yeah, the Taskmaster he appeared as a villain. He debuted as a villain, sorry. But he's occasionally been an anti-hero or works for anyone who pays him, and that includes supervillains like the Red Skull, Baron Zemo, Hydra. And an interesting fact is, if you've ever wondered where the henchmen for supervillains in the Marvel Universe, like Doctor Doom, the aforementioned Red Skull, pretty much any organization that has henchmen, the Hellfire Club and the X-Men, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, basically, this guy is the one who trains them to fight. So, yeah, he's the one who teaches henchmen combat. And, yeah, the instructor, more or less. It's just one of those little factoids about how the Marvel Universe works, and I like when comics do that. Like, Damage Control is an organization that it uses technology developed by Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four, and they basically build these mini buildings, like miniature versions of buildings that could function as actual buildings if they were full size. And they use shrinking and growing technology to instantly make them grow, cutting down construction time after a city is destroyed. So it kind of explains why in comic books, even a city could be destroyed completely, and all of a sudden, like a week or so later, everything's back to normal. It's one of those in-jokes that they created to explain how so-and-so works. But, yeah, so that's basically what Taskmaster is. He's a guy who trains henchmen how to fight. So getting back on track. It's alright. It's alright. You gotta take care of something. Don't worry about me. My roommate, I'm just talking to someone off camera. Don't worry about it. So, I'm not... So yeah, there is no cape. It is just a hood that seems to... This says it's a Build-A-Figure, meaning it's supposed to come with the parts too. And if you buy the other figures in the set, like Crossbones... Sorry, I can't see very well. Crossbones, Black Widow, it's supposed to build the Crimson Dynamo figure, that over there. But there's no figure in here, so either it's a printing error, or they just didn't put it, or this... Unless it's... Nope. Can't find it. Yeah, as you can tell, the other guy in the kitchen. Don't worry. He's probably just cooking, so we don't hear much. Okay, so for some reason, the hands that they included on the figure are closed fists. And a pet peeve of mine that I want to bring up real quick is... I'm kind of annoyed by action figures that use bow and arrows, or because the character does, because I never know for the life of me how you're supposed to, like, set them up. Do I? Yeah, it doesn't go on like an actual... So I presume it's supposed to go in this one hand, over here, and that's supposed to be like the drawback, or when you release it. And does this one... This one, it doesn't grip it. Actually, it looks more like he's got clawed hands for... Maybe that's the idea, actually, I'm not sure. But yeah, as that cover image saw, the Taskmaster is mostly known for using a sword and shield. A high-tech sword and a high-tech shield. I'm not sure if he uses guns often, but I'm guessing he's a character who wouldn't have any objections to it. Okay, the shield has some kind of, like, peg or something over here. So, I'm guessing looks like it moves. And then, I'm guessing it's sort of... Oh yeah, it snaps on... Okay, let's see. This is left... No, right hand. Right hand here. Does it go on his wrist, maybe? I guess. Oh, look, I put the other hand on. It actually fell off. There we go. But I do have some other weapons to see if I can try to see if they fit. So yeah, I've got this Han Solo pistol from a Han Solo figure, and it kind of fits. Got like a sword and pistol combo going. And let's take that other pistol from that Dieter Stark figure, see if it fits. Looks like a Desert Eagle, which if you don't know is one of the biggest handguns in the world. It can be chambered in 50 caliber, that's like half an inch. The kind used for sniper rifles, so... If that's a suppressor on the end, which I presume it is, yeah, a Desert Eagle chambered in 50 cal is gonna need it. It's loud and it kicks, but... that actually does kind of look pretty nifty. So this design isn't too bad. I would have preferred something more closer to the traditional... I wonder if I can... Maybe he's not meant to hold it, just meant to have it slung over his shoulder. Yeah, it looks better. But if that's the case, why would it come with an arrow? Yeah, there we have it. A fully decked out Taskmaster. Ready for action. Huh. I wonder, why didn't they make figures of this guy sooner? And if they did, my apologies, I don't know. I didn't know. So, moving on. I wanted to... Whoa. So I'm not going to look at these, like, page for page. If I wanted to do that, I would have run them through a scanner or used digital copies and edited it a lot better. But, this is the first 2 volumes of the Rocket Raccoon solo book. Now, I think this is the first Rocket and Raccoon solo book since the miniseries he originally appeared in. Yeah, for years, Rocket was a very obscure character. He appeared in a miniseries that didn't have, it didn't have that much of a connection to the Marvel Universe. It was first published in '85, and yeah, it made almost no reference to any other popular Marvel characters at the time. Just things like Mad World, I think that's the planet it took place on, that's what it was called. And some other, maybe very loose connections to the Marvel Universe as a whole. But yeah, Rocket wasn't really all that well known for years. And if you know of him only from the Guardians of the Galaxy film, he wasn't even a member until 2008 or so in the comics. And he was also in the Marvel vs. Capcom games. And they used his design from Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm guessing that, along with the fact that he was already a member of that team, albeit very different than the one we eventually got in the movie, it's why they made the movie. And the character's popularity really soared after that. Like, all the characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, like, they suddenly became, like, very well known as soon as that film came out. And, Rocket already had an established fan base among Marveloids, but, big-time Marvel fans, for those of you who don't know. But I think this is his first solo book, and his first solo ongoing book since, like, the 80s. And, yeah, as this quote over here says, a near-perfect piece of cartoon fiction. The best way to describe... Yep, ooh, getting fancy with a hardcover. To describe this run by... Who wrote it? Scottie Young. Philippe Andring, Jake Parker, and it's from 2016. So yeah, sometime after the first Guardians movie. Actually, that's volume 2, so maybe 2015. Yeah, so 2 years after the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So yeah, it's like, imagine a 90s cartoon turned into a comic book. And especially one that was created, like, say, for Nickelodeon, like Ren and Stimpy, Eek the Cat, Cow and Chicken. They're really bizarre and out there, and occasionally there's nothing gross in this comic, but the style of those cartoons could be described as grotesque or just not very, like, not as pretty or, as, say, the cartoons of the 80s that had to be perfectly on model and appealing. Well, not just appealing as in nice to look at, because that's a principle of animation, which is another topic entirely, but they had a more sketchy and rougher look, but they often had that a style going for them that worked. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to convey, like, exactly without having footage to show. But yeah, like, I can almost see a lot of this artwork being used as storyboards, or possibly even, like, turned into the animation for a 90s comic. And the writing also reminds me of a 90s cartoon. I'm sorry. 90s cartoon. A lot of the writing also reminds me of a 90s cartoon. Like all comic books nowadays, there is something of contains an ongoing storyline from the first issue to the next couple. But it's not like it's a big, epic, grand adventure that goes across several issues and has tie-ins and all that. It's like just 4 chapters to a story. So, like, say, 4 episodes of a cartoon telling one story and then going on to the next. And there are a couple of self-contained stories here and there. But, yeah, the writing, I don't know if you can see it very well on camera, and the humor especially, it just really reminds me of, like, those 90s cartoons that just, they push the boundaries of what writing and humor for kids could as far as it could go. Like, Ren and Stimpy, they started the trend of breaking the so-called rules of animation, like you couldn't have characters doing this and that, or just because of the way that they were written and drawn. It was just so different than everything that had come before that it set a trend, basically, for the entirety of the decade. And these comics, these Rocket Raccoon comics, they feel like they'd be perfect for that era, but they were made in the 2010s, in the mid-2010s. So, yeah, I'd recommend picking up the the Rocket Raccoon comics if you can, or finding a way to just watch them. Scotty Young doesn't work on, this series ended a while ago, and there have been several Rocket Raccoon storylines since, or different volumes. I don't know if there's one currently, but I don't see any reason why there wouldn't. The Guardians of the Galaxy are still fairly popular. I don't know if they have a third movie coming out, but they were a big part of in Endgame and Infinity War, and they did have their own sequel not too long ago. So that's it for this Marvel episode. Thanks. Sorry if I kind of rambled or didn't make a lot of, because I didn't really know how to put what I was trying to and I don't have time to edit around mostly. But thank you. Have a nice night, and I'll see everyone around.